the resources. That is what the foreman was saying. Our people don't have the safety. The CEOs are angry. Then they get to the supervisors and they start actually being hostile also to the supervisor. Don't be afraid of the shouting. Don't be afraid of the reaction, because you are put there so as to petition whenever things go wrong with those that you are working with. Try sometimes to petition when you are in a place where you have the opportunity, you yourself, because you are put there so as to petition whenever things go wrong with those that you are working with. It is better. That's why it is said that it is better to try and fail rather than fail to try. It is. Praise the Lord. We thank God for another Sunday where we go on to talk about His Word. We are still dealing with the book of Exodus. It's so exciting. But today we're going to talk about something very important: hostility. We live in a very hostile world where there are so many things that makes us feel so bad because somebody is hostile to us. A certain group of people are being hostile to us, or we are even being hostile to other people. Today, we want to talk about hostility, slave drivers and foremen. Hostility, slave drivers and foremen. And it's so interesting that in our world today, when we talk about hostility, what we are talking about is when you have a situation of unkindness, bitterness, antagonism, and malice. From our story in Exodus, Pharaoh was not happy about Moses and Aaron still insisting that he must release the Israelites to be released from their slave status to freedom and to go and serve their God. So Pharaoh, the Egyptian overlord, became bitter and resorted to taking hostile measures towards towards Moses and also Aaron and also towards the Israelites. Now, today we want to talk about hostility in terms of the slave drivers that the Pharaoh is using and also the foremen that he's using. When we talk about a slave driver, we are talking about a hard taskmaster or mistress or a tyrant. And we'll talk about foremen. They are the ones who work under the slave drivers, who supervises and directs the workers on site in terms of the Israelites. But in our contemporary terms, when we talk about slave drivers, it's the same. We are talking about people who are tough C.E.Os who have been hired to work for the slave master who is the owner of the business. And they are very hard taskmasters. Normally, when we talk about slave drivers, we are talking about the CEOs and managing directors who are in a company, and they see all of us who work for them as bodies. Sometimes you go to a workplace where you work, they say, how many bodies do we have? It means that you are just bodies. You are just people who are hired by him to work for a slave owner. And so you are just bodies. How many bodies? How many people do we have here? How many people are we here to manipulate so that we get our output and get our production? And the foremen are those who are supervisors, who are directly working under the CEOs and the heads of particular institutions or organizations. Now, we want to look at this in terms of Exodus chapter 5 and verses 6 to 22. And in this situation, we are going to look at proclamation, perspective, provision, petition, point of view, and protest. Proclamation, perspective, provision, petition, point of view, and protest. The first is proclamation. We have a proclamation from the Pharaoh, and it was a very hostile proclamation, or a very hostile order from above. The owner of the company is giving an order because he's angry about something related to his workers. So Exodus chapter 5 and verse 6 says, that same day, Pharaoh sent this order to the Egyptian slave drivers and the Israelite foremen. Do not supply any more straw for making bricks. Make the people get it themselves, but still require them to make the same number of bricks as before. Don't reduce the quota. This is order from the boss. That must be obeyed. That same day, the day that Pharaoh talked to Moses and Aaron to ask that the Israelites should go, and then Pharaoh refused. That same day, he was so angry that Aaron and Moses were insisting that the Israelites should leave. And he was angry and he was hostile, and he says, okay, now I am even angry and I'm withdrawing the incentive or the resource of straw that I give to you to make the bricks that is used for building the type of projects that I have. What was the perspective of Pharaoh? There was a negative perception of Pharaoh of the slaves that he was using, that is the Israelites that he was using, the bodies that he was using, the workers that he was using. Exodus 5:8b says, this is his perspective of the Israelites slaves that were working for him. He says, they are lazy. That's why they are crying out, let us go and offer sacrifices to our God. In verse 9 of Exodus chapter 5, he says, load them down with more work. Make them sweat. That will teach them to listen to lies. So the two perspectives that the Pharaoh has about the Israelites is that they are lazy. The next perspective he has of them is that they listen to lies. Those who own slaves or oppressed people get hostile if someone tries to free them from their slavery. Hence, the Pharaoh was very angry because he was going to lose his slaves that were working for him to get all the things going on in Egypt, and Egypt is becoming prosperous because of the Israelites who were working, and now somebody is getting them away. And so he now says the Israelites are lazy, that's why they want to leave. They are also listening to lies. This is lies. There's a feeling that he owned them and they cannot get a better deal elsewhere compared to what they are getting from him, the Pharaoh in Egypt. Their enslaved position is better. They are being told that they are going to freedom is lies. They want to get away because they are lazy. This is the perspective that most owners of businesses have of their workers, because they have to work 24/7 to get him something. If they are not able to do it, then they are lazy. If somebody is trying to say, yo, there's a better offer somewhere, then they are being told lies because he owns them. Their life is in his hands. May you not be a kind of person who, because of the negative perspective your employer has of you, you are chained to your employer and there are better options being offered to you, but you don't want to go. May you leave and go towards a better option, and don't believe it as lies, because your employer, who is an oppressor, will like you to be in that oppressive situation for the end of your life. There's also provision. When the situation occurred and Moses and Aaron were asking the people to take a perspective of going out from slavery, Pharaoh got hostile, and the hostility led to his withdrawal of provision. The provision that he made for the slaves to be able to work, to give him what he wants, he withdrew it. He says in Exodus 5:10, this is what Pharaoh says, I will not provide any more straw for you. Go and get it yourselves. Find it wherever you can, but you must produce just as many bricks as before. So the people scattered throughout the land of Egypt in search of stable to use as straw. The slave drivers also acted on the others of their owner, the Pharaoh, in a hostile manner. When the owner says, I will withdraw the straw from you, with the one that you use to make the blocks, then the C.E.Os who are working for the owner of the company, the owner of the organization, the owner of the institution, they also said to the people. Meanwhile, the Egyptian slave drivers continued to push hard. Meet your daily quota of bricks, just as you did when we provided you with straw, they demanded. So they also, the slave drivers, the tax masters, obeying the owner, who is Pharaoh's instructions, also came down to the slaves, the workers, the Israelite workers, to tell them that, yes, we have been giving you the bricks, giving you the straw to make the bricks. Since the order from the Pharaoh says we should not give it to you, we are not giving it to you. Go and look for the straw yourself. That is what the slave drivers said. They were hostile to the Israelites. But it's not only to them. When you read Exodus chapter 5 verse 14, then they whipped the Israelites foremen they had put in charge of all the work crews. Why haven't you met your quotas either yesterday or today? They demanded. So second, they even actually not only instructed the foremen to work, but they even lashed them. So this means that when the C.E.Os are angry, then they get to the supervisors and they start actually being hostile also to the supervisor. So the provision that is to be made by the Pharaoh is not carried on. And also the slave drivers who are working for the slave master also decided that they would go by that. And they even started beating up the foremen who were also just working for both the Pharaoh and also for the slave drivers. Then the next is petition. The foremen, looking at the oppressive situation, petitioned the Pharaoh. Exodus 5:15 says, so the Israelite foremen went to Pharaoh and pleaded with him, please don't treat your servant like this. They begged, we are giving no straw, but the slave drivers still demand, make bricks. We are being beaten, but it isn't our fault. Your own people are to blame. Don't keep quiet when your tax master is using you as a weapon of oppression towards the workforce. Speak out. The foremen went straight to Pharaoh to complain and petition. Don't be a bootlicker or an accomplice to oppression and slavery. Our people don't have the resources. That is what the foremen were saying. Our people don't have the safety equipment. Our people don't have what it takes to continue. Their salaries are too small. Try sometimes to petition when you are in a place where you have the opportunity, you yourself have the order and the strength, and you have the ability to do that. Do it, because that's why God has put you there. But when you complain, don't think that it will be taken by the owner of the company or by the CEO, but complain. In Exodus 5:17 says, but Pharaoh shouted, that is, he shouted unto the foremen, you are just lazy. That is why you are saying, let us go and offer sacrifices to the Lord. Now, get back to work. No straw will be given to you, but you must still produce the full quota of bricks. Yes, when they complained to Pharaoh, Pharaoh rather shouted on them. Don't be afraid of the shouting. Don't be afraid of the reaction, because you are put there so as to petition whenever things go wrong with those that you are working with and they are under your care and you are supervising them. It says it is better. That's why it is said that it is better to try and fail rather than fail to try. It is better to try and fail rather than fail to try. In verse 19 of Exodus chapter 5, The Israelite foremen could see that they were in serious trouble when they were told, you must not reduce the number of bricks you make each day. As they left Pharaoh's court, they confronted Moses and Aaron, who were waiting outside for them. The foremen said to them, may the Lord judge and punish you for making us stink before Pharaoh and his officials. You have put a sword into their hands, an excuse to kill us. When you try and fail, try again. After they tried the Pharaoh and the Pharaoh shouted on them and they left, they didn't actually give up. They now complained to Moses and Aaron, the ones who originated this whole thing by going to the Pharaoh and asking that the Israelites should go, and the Israel and the Pharaoh got hostile. They go straight to them also. They didn't try only with the Pharaoh, they also tried with Moses and Aaron. Now, Moses and Aaron were now being petitioned for what has happened. And what was Moses' response to this? Protest. The strategy of Moses was protest. You can protest to God through prayer. Exodus 5:22. Then Moses went back to the Lord and protested. Why have you brought all this trouble on your own people? Lord, why did you send me? Ever since I came to Pharaoh as your spokesman, he has been even more brutal to your people, and you have done nothing to rescue them. When things go bad with you and people are hostile to you and you feel so bad, it is good to what? Protest to God. It is good to protest. I'm not saying you should accuse God. I'm saying go to God and say, God, this is the situation. The people are being hostile to me. The foremen are being hostile to me. Pharaoh is hostile to me. So what do I do? May God help you in your time of hostility. And may God help you even when people have a bad perspective of you. May God even help you when provisions have been withdrawn from you because of hostility. And may God give you the boldness sometimes to petition when you are put in a position of authority and you have the right to do so, like the foreman. May you also have a point of view and not be passive in your lives, even when things are hostile. And may you protest to God in prayer whenever you feel that there are too many hostilities around you and you don't understand. May God take you through whatever hostility you have, because He is the one who will direct your path and take you out of you. God bless you.
Hope you are blessed with this message. To get in touch with other messages of the servants of God, follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel.